TST Podcast, episode number 9. I got my guest, Jonathan Woolybeast Walker. What's up, man?
How you doing?
Good, man. Thanks, dude, for coming out.
It's a pleasure, man. Pleasure's mine.
I know tonight we had sparring after Paradigm Coach G.
It went about as well as you'd expect for a person who only goes to kickboxing class once a week.
So,
did not go well.
I know that hopefully this sound's working. I don't know. Hopefully,
Well, everybody can hear us?
yeah, hopefully. I mean, it's definitely working on that other end, but actually, for some reason, this one's not moving on the YouTube line, which I don't know why. Why it's not vibrating, which is kind of weird. So it was pre-recording,
And it'll only be one person
and
talking.
then, well, you know, it wouldn't be that. I mean, you're speaking now, but it would be like if we were recording and we get a good conversation and get going.
Something happens.
Yeah, and then it's like, it's been recorded, and then how it's good material.
Yeah. I think Barstool had an issue like that a couple of years ago where they had like a whole show they're doing for like college football and like not even record any sound. Yeah.
So it's recording. It's definitely recording, so I guess we're going good. Oh, well, right?
Yeah.
Alright. So if I'm looking at my phone because I'm sending I'm sharing it so they can actually tell me, hey,
And if I'm looking at my phone, it's because my wife is currently competing at the Jiu-Jitsu National Championships in Las Vegas. And she's texting me updates. I know she just finished her no-gi competitions.
Nice.
So now it'll just be more about debriefing me about the day and all of that good stuff that your wife usually does to you whenever she competes at a national tournament. I know everybody knows how that goes.
Nice. So yeah, good going. Wish luck to your wife, I guess. So she's actually competing, right?
Yep, she won 2 gold medals in gi and in absolute division, and she is competing no gi today. So, we're hoping that she does well. But even if something happens and she doesn't, I'm incredibly proud of her for chasing her dreams because it takes a lot of guts to do that.
Cool, man. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And then the other thing was, of course, you've been an MMA fighter since. You said since you've been 17, or I guess you started like fighting when you were 17, so you came into being interested in it.
I started getting interested in it back in 2005, whenever the first season of The Ultimate Fighter happened.
Yeah.
I thought it was really neat, and just fell in love with the sport of mixed martial arts, and afterwards they usually show like Ultimate Knockouts or something like that, and it'd be Chuck Liddell and all that stuff. So like that got me really interested in the sport, and then like not even a year later, my oldest brother just tackled me one day with like a double leg trying to like do something out of UFC, and I countered it the way I saw on TV, and then he immediately like countered it again, and he was like, "How do you know about MMA?" And I was like, "I watched The Ultimate Fighter," and he's like, "You watch The Ultimate Fighter? I watched The Ultimate Fighter too. This is crazy." And then we started sparring in the backyard when I was like 13 years old. He was.
What year was this?
This was about when we started sparring. It was about 06, 07. About we would watch a UFC, or there'd be like a UFC event that'd come on Spike TV replay.
Yeah.
And we'd watch it, and then we'd just be like, "All right, let's go in the backyard and let's fight."
Mm-hmm.
And we'd fight. That's how we would just like practice techniques we basically saw on TV on each other. And then that's what eventually led us to seek out professional training.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So.
And then after that, did like your parents support all that?
I mean, they weren't happy that we were fighting in the house. That's for sure. and they're definitely concerned.
No, you got close calls here and there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, there's multiple times where my parents came home or came outside whenever we were doing that stuff, and yelled at us, and did like the typical small mom thing. Stop beating on my baby boy. And so, that's how it kind of took off. But my mom definitely was the first parent that kind of fell in line in a sense and like started supporting the MMA journey that I decided to go on.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also, I met you at Paradigm, so I met you last year.
Yeah.
It was like when we were, I guess they were doing sparring there up in the South Rise.
Mm-hmm.
And then you in that other gym.
Yeah.
And that was pretty cool. There was a lot more space there.
Oh yeah.
But imagine having that much space now.
Mm-hmm. But like, in my MMA journey, especially like starting out, like we were in gyms that were like a little bit bigger than this room, like maybe 2 of these rooms, and you had like 50 people on a mat, and you were just fighting for space, trying to roll. So like how big martial arts and how big jiu-jitsu gyms and mixed martial arts gyms have become nowadays is really incredible. It just really mirrors the way the sport has grown.
Yeah. I don't know, at first I wasn't all for the cage. I guess the cage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But now it's pretty cool.
No, I was really supportive of it. Whenever I first started at Paradigm, they had the cage set up where the boxing ring was. Yeah. And they had the boxing ring pushed up next to it. So it was maybe a little bit to the left where the boxing ring was, but they kind of overlapped.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed it because, as an MMA fighter, that's where we do our business. That's the football field. That's the basketball court for us.
Yeah.
So, whenever they decided to take it away, it sucked. And, we weren't, especially my wife and I, because that's when I was really getting back into wanting to compete. But, we made do. They had padded walls, and in reality, if you're getting put up against the fence, like, you're most likely doing something wrong. So, but there is a need to work wall defense and stuff like that, but you should.
That gym was like good for it. But then I remember meeting you there, and then, I don't know, I sparred with you a few times, but that was bad. I mean, of course, I'm still learning. I'm still in my beginning stages, but even that time, I still get very beginning.
Yeah, I mean,
you were very advanced.
Yeah, I mean, well, if you still ask me, I'm still a beginner. I'm still advancing. I've seen people and seen how amazingly technical people there are out there, and that that really makes you humble yourself and not even try to say you're good, because you see like John Jones compete on Saturday, Sunday night, and you're like, man, I just need to hang it up. There's no way I'm getting that good.
Yeah.
So.
Well, no, because Coach D, he talked very good of you.
Yeah.
He talks with,
I really appreciate him. And my last MMA fight, he was really an important part of my training camp. Him and Coach Marcus were the two, like not MMA specific coaches that I had for my training camp. And they, really helped get me ready. Coach D especially, just the way he's pushed me, but also like allowed me to still be me is just like really like helped me for my last fight, especially reach the next level that I didn't realize that I had.
Yeah, because like I said, I mean, you've been born and raised. You were born and raised here in Houston. Like I said, we met last October there at the gym. That's when I started going to kickboxing, and then that was like during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And then, like, I don't know. I guess, man, like I said, come on. I've seen the amount of people that they come into that class. It's coming a long way.
Yeah, I mean, the martial arts and stuff like that's really seeing a resurgence. With just how popular UFC and Bellator is getting, with Karate Kid being as popular as it is on Netflix. Every karate ad I see now is like a ripoff of the Karate Kid Netflix poster, and it just makes me laugh. But they're seeing a resurgence. Boxing gyms, because Logan and Jake Paul are doing what they're doing. God help them.
Yeah, we'll get into that a little bit later. But yeah, that's all. Like, like everything. Yeah, it's like fast paced now. Like everyone's trying to like move forward.
Yeah, it's really.
It's jump like 20 stages to get to the.
It's big business now.
Yeah, now it's. I gotta say that maybe that's a little off the subject, but yeah, definitely a lot of different angles of promoting and like how to go to fight and get people interested in watching two people fight.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've been guilty of doing the whole gambit.
But see, then I can even piggyback off of that. That's like almost saying like also like that's almost like saying also like the fact that I guess guys like yourself who are amateur fighters or fighting, or getting up, you're trying to you got low polish.
Yeah,
What about promotions or hey, why not channel some of that? If you're interested in fighting, why not maybe start your own promotion company?
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely
help out other fighters that are trying to come up. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, but there's definitely been an emphasis as of late with the rise of Conor McGregor with the promotional side of fighting, and the people who do the promotional side better have been the ones that have been getting the opportunities instead of the ones who are skillfully better. But at the end of the day, like, it's still fighting. Two guys are going to go in there, and whoever's the best is going to win. And like Khabib wasn't anything on the promotional side, but he eventually won enough to where he showed him that like you can't deny me, like I'm the best.
So. Yeah, and I mean, it's just because when, like you said, when it comes down to it, it's the physical aspect of fighting two people. One's gonna lose. But then again, like also, like I feel the whole show, like the show itself, like you want to provide a show.
Oh yeah, no, like
the show is a show, which is it might be somebody's head busting open. It could be where somebody gets choked out, or it could be it's dangerous. Dangerous shit that could go down.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I am Mr. Promotional here. For the past, I took a break, but for the majority of my fights, really in my MMA career, I imitated the WWE wrestler Finn Balor's entrance whenever I walked out. I used his entrance music, and I did his entrance like gimmick because I related to the character. Like one of my favorite and MMA fighters and the guy who was like my big inspiration growing up was Jason Mayhem Miller, who was all about antics and being goofy and eccentric walkouts. So like I'm for promotion, but there's a point where it jumps the shark, and I feel like a lot of MMA is that now. A lot of fighting is that now. It's just who can talk the best and who can pretend to hate each other when like I'm just an old school purist. Like I still miss the days of George St. Pierre being able to draw like 1 million buys by saying nothing and just being a badass. I don't know if we're cursing here. I'm sorry, everybody. But being a badass and just, taking over. And so, like, those are the days I miss. I was Conor McGregor for a minute. I did the trash talking thing, but I definitely, looking back on it now, I just wish I'd stayed true to myself and done things like I was.
I like joking.
Like chopping on the guy. Like, and you can tell it's playful. Like that's definitely one thing. But these guys who you know are best friends because you saw them hanging out like 2 weeks ago, and then the next day they're like, I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna end your life. And then the other guy's like, I'm gonna end your life too. And it's like neither one of you guys are gonna try to actually do that. It's a sanctioned event. That's not the objective.
Yeah. Because then, like you said, you did promoting with different promotion companies, or what you said, Fusion.
That was my starter gym. The promotions that I fought for mainly was Garcia Promotions, their amateur series. I fought multiple fights from them, and then the second one was Superior Combative Championships. They were a fight promotion down in Galveston. But I did have one fight, by thank God. at the Legacy Fighting Championship before they turned to the LFA. When Dana White came down to watch looking for a fighter series.
Really?
So I got to fight on the undercard of that fight card. Adrian.
He was here?
Yeah.
He had to get to see the fight?
He wasn't there by the time I fought, unfortunately. He showed up later for the pros because he's not going to take anybody out of amateurs, unfortunately, unless they're CM Punk.
Right.
Which don't think that was a jab at CM Punk. I actually had the pleasure of training with him, and he's a really good guy. He's an idol of mine.
No, he made it to the ring.
Yeah.
He made it to the ring.
But yeah, like
the fight itself was here or there.
But Dana wasn't in attendance, but like Adrian Peterson wasn't in attendance. A few celebrities were there because it was like the 50th event of the promotion's time being around. And so like a lot of celebrities were invited. I got to fight in front of Mick Maynard, who's now the head promoter or head matchmaker for UFC, him and another guy, Sean Shelby. But yeah, I got to fight on that undercard thing, and I won that fight, and so that was.
Well, what year was that? What year was that?
I want to say that was either 06 or 07, because this is no, 06, 2016, I believe, 2016, 2017, because this was about when I was about to start transitioning from fighting full time to my strength conditioning job. And so, that's why I remember that fight vividly.
Yeah. So I mean, so you've been very active in fighting. You've been very active in the fighting.
Yeah. Well, I was more active, a year or two back, but as of late, I've been focusing more on schooling, and before that, I was recovering from an injury. I tore my meniscus, so I was recovering from that, and so then I had a bit of an activity. I fought again, and now I've been, because of COVID and all that stuff, I've been real inactive, and now I have a lot of post-wedding weight to get off before I can think about fighting again.
Well, no, I remember you were coming, and then congratulations, you got married, and congratulations. And then of course I know you work in school. So you're still going to the gym.
I mean, the martial arts journey. That's the great thing about the sport. When you stop playing football, you don't keep playing football on Sunday afternoons and doing football drills and going to football practice.
Right.
When you stop playing basketball, you don't do the basketball drills. You don't hit 100 free throws. Every day you just play basketball. The good thing about martial arts is you can continue training even if you're not being a fighter. You can still have that fighter lifestyle, but not be competitive and not be in that crazed mindset. And so, like, even during COVID, when I knew we couldn't do it, like every chance I had, I still tried to do some sort of training with my wife or on my own,
But I mean, that's the thing you have. Like, if you have a passion for that shit, you have to. I feel you have to. Something is better than nothing at all. I think when people just stop doing whatever they enjoy doing, you don't want to do that.
I mean, your body just dies off. Your heart just dies off.
Because then you do that, and then you lose interest, or you're pretty much just getting lazy. You're just lazy, and you don't want to continue doing it. But I don't know. I guess it's life itself too, though.
Yeah.
But man. I remember we went at because I started in October last year to November, and then that's, like I said, I wasn't sparring yet, and I think Coach Jesus kind of just weaved me in there and started having me spar, and then that's when I started sparring with you. Yeah. And then with Kevin too. But I remember he's not the shit, Kevin.
Kevin, he hits so freaking hard. I have to go in tight and brawl like a crazy person.
But you know how to actually take a hit.
Yeah, I can take being hit. I mean, I'm the youngest of two older brothers. Like, I got beat up for breakfast, lunch, and dinner growing up. Yeah. So, like, getting hit hard doesn't faze me any. My wife would probably not like me say that, but yeah, like I take a hit and it won't like piss me off. I'll just be like, okay, that's not fun. I just don't want to spar with you now. I just stick with people. I'll just stay away from you.
Yeah.
And spar people who are more the feel and stuff that I want to go back. 'Cause like whenever I'm more in competition shape, I'd be okay with going with Kevin. But right now I'm not quite there. And so,
tonight I had my ass handed to me.
Well, they had
I had my ass handed to me tonight. It is what it is. But
yeah.
I have video of it too, or maybe I think I do. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, in that building, they had a climate control. They had that thing set to Thailand. That thing, it was so muggy in there and hot. But that's Texas for you. So, but yeah, it was hard to get your breath in there tonight. Like I was getting to the point where I thought I was going to be puking. I was feeling it, but
nah, I don't know. I never got to that point. Only time I get to that point is unless it's maybe I'm like dry and heaving for some reason, or
it's a great place to be at. It is the absolute funnest place to go. Let me tell you. No, it is terrible.
If you have to run.
Yeah, because it just is coming from the deepest bowels of you, and it just hurts the entire time. And then you get done, you feel like you feel like a wussy because you had to run off the mat to puke. It just feels like kind of weak. And like growing, and when I was in high school, my wrestling coach like dogged us for puking.
Oh, you did wrestling too?
Yeah. In high school, I was a 4-year varsity starter. Captain my senior year.
And this is in League City?
Yeah, Clear Falls High School.
No shit. Mm-hmm. See, so they had wrestling over there.
Yeah.
See, that's very few schools, I would say, in south of Houston. Houston in general.
Yeah, I mean
Texas is kind of flipped. So, like, I don't know, like, I've always brought this up, but, like, I think it was when I was in the Navy, a lot of people from Midwest, it was like almost like a requirement.
Yeah, it's almost a religion up there in the Midwest.
Yeah, these motherfuckers like would be hanging out and shit, and then like next thing you know
they're doing their wrestling stance,
tackling they're like throwing each other against the wall, when they're messing around. And next thing you know, they're like, I was a wrestler in high school, blah, blah, blah. See, man, it's like, we never got that shit in our fucking school.
Yeah, no, we were very fortunate. It wasn't very popular. Really, our district, especially whenever I started, wasn't that strong because wrestling was still very much, I think, in its infancy. Yeah. But it blew up while I was there, and it became a really big thing, and like, really thankful that I had the opportunity to do it because so many, like my brothers, they went to Clear Creek High School, which is where I would have gone had Clear Falls not been built just before I got to high school. They didn't have wrestling there whenever they were in high school. My middle brother did, but my oldest brother didn't. So yeah, we were just very fortunate, and we had a very good wrestling coach with Eric Thompson, who is just he's a really good technical coach, but also a motivator and could get you fired up, but also make you feel like you're about 2 inches tall. In a matter of seconds, he can make you go from the highest to highs to the lowest to lows. But to be fortunate enough to have that sport and Eric Thompson, it really also helped push me towards my MMA career.
Good shit.
Because I knew that all the wrestlers were the UFC champions. By the time I got to high school, the champions were like Brock Lesnar and George St. Pierre. Matt Hughes was a big legend at the time. Chris Weidman just beat Anderson Silva. He's a wrestler. He's all American. John Bones Jones is a wrestler. You see all these MMA champions that are wrestlers, and you're like, that for me, that was the path that I wanted to go down. So I started wrestling. When I found out my high school had wrestling, I jumped on that so I could have the opportunity to figure out how to wrestle for MMA.
Because I always feel wrestling is like the basics of learning how to
It's such a major important part of mixed martial arts because you can control where the fight takes place. If you're killing it on the feet, you can keep it there. If you want to take it to the ground, you can take it to the ground.
Yeah. So now, I mean, you've trained with other guys there. Where you've done. So actually, I mean, have you done any lately sparring maybe with MMA?
I haven't been over with the MMA guys as of late since the pandemic ended. I just haven't felt like I was in good enough shape to go over there because I don't want to go over there.
That's a common move, right?
Yeah, and Colin runs a really good class, and I do eventually want to get over there. But I don't want to go over there for 2 minutes and then go puke and then.
But they're pretty intense.
MMA is an intense sport, and to prepare for as worse as the fight can get, you got to make it even worse in training. And it was part of that type of process that helped me be, so prepared for my last fight. Because like the conditioning and the technique that you need, everything you need for the sport is so immense that the margin for error is so small, and it's just incredible.
Yeah. So have you been in that class once or twice?
I haven't yet, but I went to it before Colin was the coach when Leroy was the coach. But I do want to go over there. I'm going to try to get over there sometime soon.
Who was the coach before Colin?
It was Leroy. He was an MMA fighter for Paradigm, who became the MMA coach, and he was my head coach for my last fight. That's who we were doing the MMA class with, but he had a baby and stopped teaching the MMA class. And so eventually Colin took over, and by the time Colin took over, the pandemic had happened, and I was just not in a great shape to be in an MMA class. So I haven't been yet, but I do want to get over there sometime soon because I do want to have a couple more fights, at least one of them being a professional fight. So I can check that off my bucket list and then, have that to hang on my hat, so that whenever my kids are debating if their dad can beat up somebody else's dad, they can use that against them.
Yeah, because that class, I think you got to go in there expecting to get roughed up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's the thing, but that's even a very smart fighter, I think, when you're thinking like that, because you're thinking like, hey, I want to go there prepared, I want to go there, just like, well, this year. I mean, you're still training, but at the same time, like you said, you're really prepared, like you said.
And I mean, worst case scenario, you go into a class unprepared and you get injured. I mean, I've been through an injury rehab process, and I did not have medical insurance at the time. So I had to do it all myself, and it was tough. So, I don't want to go through that again. So I'm not going to go into a hard class unless I know I'm prepared for it. And even sometimes when I don't know I'm prepared for it, I try to go into a hard class, and then I pay the price for that. But yeah, unless I know I'm prepared for it, I don't want to go in there and risk getting hurt or hurting somebody else because I'm not prepared to go.
Yeah. I mean, well, no, I mean, you know, my head. I think I was, you saw me, I think I was there, and I was laying. I mean, it was after an hour workout, and after an hour workout, I was trying to get a goal. I was trying to stretch. It was from sparring, and it was like a week before I got those kicks, and man, those kicks on my leg. Anyway, so then I couldn't roll it out. Man. It was just too painful.
Yeah, I mean,
fucking too painful. Now I can move side to side, but oh man, after that it was pretty bad. It was real bad.
Yeah, I mean,
I remember you saw me. You were like, "Hey man, you know you got to put your whole full weight down on that foam roller." And I was like,
yeah, listen. When I was a strength conditioning coach, there's a lot of kids that you had to basically press them on those foam rollers to get them to roll it out because, I mean, those things, they can get it deep and it can just be very tender, especially if you worked out hard and are sore going into it. Yeah, those things can be the devil, but they're so good for you. And main part of any training regimen should be using those foam rollers in the morning when you're waking up to get your muscles ready to go because they're just fantastic equipment.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is doing the stretches in your back, lower back. It relieves a lot of tender, tight spots that you have. And then, yeah, and then also, like I said, when you got to Paradigm, of course, you started training with Coach G, and then of course you said you trained with Marcus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Marcus Bello, the jiu-jitsu instructor at Paradigm, who is absolutely amazing. You know, it's been really helpful to my to my wife. I'm sorry, I'm used to saying the other thing, but wife, to help her be a national champion. And just an amazing jiu-jitsu student, and then he's really helped me out a lot. He's a really motivational guy, as is G. Coach G is also an amazing instructor. I know if I don't go into it as much as Marcus, that he will get jealous and play fight with me later. But yeah, Coach G was, especially for my fight, like he unfortunately wasn't able to make it to be in my corner, but he was a very influential piece to getting me ready for my last fight.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Yeah, and I've had a few other fighters. Of course, I had Stanley on here, and Stanley's going to go back to. So that's the whole idea, man. Like on here, trying to just get more fighters on here talk about their journey. Or pretty much like you said, to me, I'm there. It keeps me pretty much level-headed.
Oh yeah.
It checks me every now and then. Like today, I got checked. That's basically it is what it is. But I don't take it personal. I just take it for what it is. I mean, it's not like now I got fucking knocked out.
Yeah, then
bullshit like that. I got fucking thrown on the ground.
Which has happened. Which has happened at gyms that I've been at. My wife actually was a victim of something like that, and thank goodness we're away from that gym now. But yeah, there's multiple times where the instructor,
and I'm only smiling because I'm like, oh my god, the instructor allowed like if that shit, like, you get in there and your mother's like boom 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 boom, and you're like, what? And I'm like, hey man, like
yeah, it was just an absolute mess. And thank goodness we're at where we're at now, because honestly the community and the vibe is just so healthy there and just so infectious that, like, even when I don't want to go to training, which is a lot of times as of late, but when it's really hard to go to training, like, it's a good motivator to just go there and know that you're going to be around cool people.
Well, I ain't gonna lie, man. Like, when it comes to actual sparring, shit, I'll be honest, I get a little nervous.
Oh yeah. No,
I don't know what's going on with that guy. Mm-hmm. I don't know what's going on in his head. Mm-hmm. I don't know what. I mean, that's kind of like me myself. But like I said, I'm not a big guy.
Yeah.
But again, there's definitely like this. Coaches call me out on some shit. But hey, everything's going. Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that was a huge focus for me coming up. It's like, I saw so many fighters because, I'm following the sport religiously, growing up. There's so many fighters that pull out because of injuries due to sparring, and there's so many horror stories you hear sparring. So, I made just a real focus on being able to spar hard but controlled enough to where my partner doesn't get hurt, and we're all able to spar this hard all the time. And I got to a point where now I'm able to spar with people and give them a pop, but not risk injuring them. But so many people, like, not a lot of the gyms and not enough people, I think, focus on that when they start off. They're either in it for the wrong reasons, or they just think that hitting things hard is cool. And so, it's really hard.
I mean, I go in there when I'm doing it. Like I said, gloves to the face, gloves to the head, close, keep your ribs. And that's what starts going crazy. I'm like, yo, dude, stop.
Yeah, but it's like, for a lot of people, it's very hard for them to do that. Some people have issues in their past, either like a PTSD thing or something. Maybe that's the reason why they're doing this class to start with. But then somebody does that to them, and now they're having a panic attack because of that. Like, that's why, like, anytime I'm with a newbie, or if I'm talking to somebody whenever they're just starting off fighting, I'm telling them, like, focus on control and being a good training partner, because that is more valuable than anything in the world.
No, because like afterwards, Kevin and I told him, like, yo, bro, you gave me my shit. You fucking handed my shit to me.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But I don't see it like I'd rather be taking it from a person that I'm pretty much, you know, I'm there for the training versus somebody that I don't fucking know.
Yeah,
because maybe in the future it might have a smoker, maybe not. Somebody I might know, somebody I might not know. But my point is like I'm giving that mentality where like I think fighters you got to just expect the unexpected.
And coming up, like I think a lot of people have stories coming up where they just had people that just beat on them and hit them hard and stuff like that. You know, it's hard because like I feel like that's part of the reason why I am the way I am today. But at the other part of me, it's like I don't want people to go through that because I feel like that runs a lot of people off.
Yeah,
and I don't want that to happen. So.
No, because I think there's been a few. I mean, I don't know. I've seen some guys come and go, and then even when I first started, there was a few guys that I thought I was like, man, like you know, I haven't seen that guy in a while, or you know, where.
Yeah, which I mean, like I think with the size of the gym is, you're gonna have people that are hobbyists that are doing it more as a hobby than as you know something they want to do all the time, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, it's just. You know, you just got to realize who you are, what you are, and what you're doing it for. Because I think some people get into it for a different reason than they're actually their heart is really in for, and then that's when people get hurt.
I mean, man, like you know, well, not on wood, I'll be there tomorrow.
Yeah,
you know, but it's definitely addicting because. When you get shown a combo and you're doing the combo and you're just repeating the combo and you get in that flow, heart's racing, and then you're just moving along. You're just moving along with the combo, and you're just going with motions.
I was listening. You're going. I was like, you're on a roll, man.
It was just funny how that happened.
That's one for everybody playing at home. The drinking game that we're playing now, that's one.
But no, and then just going through the motions, the combos, you get into that mindset. When you go through the mindset, man, you're in motions, just like boom, boom, boom.
Oh yeah.
So then, of course, when you're in, I guess now it's just being in you have an opponent. When you have the opponent, it's like having that smoothness.
Oh yeah, no, it's
come through, but then it's a little different because he's moving this way, or that person's moving that way, this way, that. Okay, they might do this or that, or you know, they're moving all around.
No, if you watch my first fight, I look like it wasn't Henzo, it was I think Hoyler Gracie. The way he used to fight, that's how stiff his arms were. My arms are right here. There was no looseness. There was no goofiness. It was. I was a high school wrestler that somebody allowed into an MMA cage and fight. Like I had training. I had people that gave me really good training. Yeah. But you know, when you get into that first fight, it's just all adrenaline. You just fall back to what you know. And the only thing that I had imprinted on me was high school wrestling, and luckily a hair of jiu-jitsu that ended up showing up that won me the fight. But
well, I mean, when I was in the Navy, there was a buddy of mine, Whaley. And yeah, this motherfucker here, man, it would get me down, and I don't know, I guess, yeah, anyways, pretty much, the whole story short, I'll be down on the ground, and my arms would be up, and he'd be like, yeah, motherfucker, what, but he had me already on the ground. Somehow he already had me on the ground, and I'm just like, I mean, all I know, man, is just, like, fist. That's all I ever knew. Even in the Navy, that's all I ever kind of knew. I never knew like actual true formation. I never knew like actual. I just knew, But then I'm not stupid because then I'm not. I mean, of course, when it came to the fight or flight, of course, I'm there for the fight. So I'm there to also defend. I'm not that dumb when it comes to that either.
Yeah, but
at the same time, the wrestling shit, he just had me kind of confused. I'm like, wait, for one, how the fuck am I on the ground now? Second, how am I like it's weird.
Yeah, and it's just crazy that like they didn't already teach you that stuff. Like you'd think somebody goes into the armed forces, like they're gonna come back like a mini John Wick.
Oh, I was really so like.
I mean, still, like, what if they board your boat? Do they gonna do this? No, that ain't.
Then we got Watts, and we got
give you some Krav Maga.
Yeah, we were more we were like the pit for the race car jets that would drop, pretty much go and do their business and come back whatever. But it was not, it is what it was.
Listen, all I know is I played a lot of Call of Duty, and they've been on boats. I've seen it.
But my point also is that I knew enough street fighting just to get into my.
So that's what the Navy's for. That's going to be our Street Fighter core.
What? No.
Just all Nate Diaz and Nick Diaz's boys. We're just going to put them in the Navy.
Hey, Nate Diaz, that last fight was pretty good.
Yeah, no, like honestly, my boy JB, who we had over for the fights because we were fishing earlier. Man, he almost broke our TV. He was so mad because he saw how he's a big Diaz fan. So when they had him on the ropes and had him almost finished there and let him off the hook, he was so mad. He was like, "Why didn't he finish him? Why didn't he finish him?" My wife had to beg for him to calm him down.
Dude, all you had to do was continue wailing on him.
All he had to do was just pour it on. My third fight, I finished a guy standing up because I hurt him to the body, and he just stood on the cage with his hands up and just let me punch at him, and the referee eventually stopped the fight.
Cardio always wins.
Cardio and just if you have somebody hurt, just slurring, even if you don't know if you had him hurt. Like that fight too, there was a time where I had the guy in half guard, and I ended up with his hand between my knee, under my knee. So he had the left leg gripped, but my right knee was over his arm. So I hammer fisted him, and he kind of like looked stunned. So I just flurried, and he recovered. But it had he like not tried to grab me, but like just covered up, I could have stood up and poured it on and finished him. A lot of fighters, not a lot of fighters, but I think some young fighters, and even some of the UFC fighters now they just lack that killer instinct. You just need to know when somebody's hurt and pour it on. I don't think I necessarily had it. I think there's times where I had people hurt in fights that I didn't do anything about it. But I had enough in that moment to sense that he was done and to pour it on, even though my punches, looking back on it now, were really not very powerful. The third round, I was just tired. I was just throwing my arms out there, hoping to hit something.
Yeah. No, but I mean, I don't know. When I saw that fight, I was like, wow. Like. But see, I know also like Nate Diaz, he does a lot of cardio. He's a fucking marathon runner. He's a ultra marathon.
Yeah.
I mean,
and to not play pro wrestling, Booker here, everybody, but. Like, that was honestly the perfect finish for both guys because Leon Edwards gets the bump from beating Nate Diaz. He can go fight, Colby Covington after he loses to Kamaru or whomever besides Kamaru. He can be the next in line. But, so he has that one. But then Nate Diaz looked like like he is still that hood rat. He was still that gangster. That's never dead. And, so he'll always come back to get you. And so everybody was like, all the UFC fans that are Nate Diaz guys, they got even more pumped in that fan group.
Right.
The Leon Edwards push still continued. So honestly, that was a perfect booking. Dana White, I know you're not faking it, but perfect booking.
Well, because also I can even base it on composure too. Leon Edwards, his composure all the way to that point, it was just like a switch.
Oh yeah, no.
It was like milliseconds, and then like all of a sudden you didn't see, like he did not look his correct self at all. You just saw it, like, whoa, what the fuck?
It kind of reminds
me. And then he was just like, whoa, where the fuck am I at? And then Nate Diaz is like, what?
Yeah, he pointed at me. He was just like, ooh, I got you.
Yeah, he's like, I got you, bitch. He's like, man.
Which I know, like, you got Connor with that, but there's like a minute left. You got to pour it on. You got to
didn't, And I don't know, man. I think that's maybe like, I don't know, maybe, I don't know. I mean, of course, whatever he thought, and maybe Diaz thought at the time, but maybe it was like some underdog bullshit where the fool was like, because I don't know, maybe I shouldn't have a right to say that, but I would say, man, I relate to the guy because he's got he's got his, but he's also giving it out too, and then he's earned it.
Yeah.
And then he still steps back in that motherfucker.
Yeah.
And he's what, 36 now?
Yeah, and he's made the money. Like Conor McGregor and him, their fights. Man, that's enough money for him to retire for. Like, he's good, but and especially with some of these other businesses.
And that's what that shit comes down to, too, because, like, that, I mean, you just made me realize, too, also at the same time, like, Nate Diaz, the only thing he probably went back into is, like, you know what, I'm going to go give him another show.
Yeah.
I'm going to just go ahead and go out there and just give him another show real quick. And then just go see what I give out there.
And like when you know you have the skill to at least compete, you may not necessarily have the skill to know you're going to win, but if you have the skill to compete and you're Nate Diaz and you're going to make Nate Diaz money just competing, like, might as well. I mean, that's kind of the reason you're seeing some of these old boxers like De La Hoya and stuff come back out of retirement. They're just like, I'll just take another payday. Let's take another cash grab.
But no shit, like Nate Diaz, man, if I ran into that dude, I'd be like,
oh, respect.
Yeah, I'd just be like, no words to even say, just there you go.
Yeah, I mean respect to all the MMA fighters. There's very few that I, objectively am just like are terrible people. Even one that I had an altercation with in a cage. As a lead up for a fight that ended up getting canceled. I wouldn't even say that he's one of the bad guys. I think he's actually a decent guy, but there's definitely a couple, or at least a few MMA guys out there that are just not necessarily people I'd hang around with.
Yeah.
But yeah, martial arts it weeds those type of people out usually.
Yeah, usually. But then those people usually, they're I don't know. It's like I said, like, I would say in the gym right now, there's one guy there that, is just like, but how can I put it? He's just very unorthodox and very just like, I mean, I'm not gonna,
Yeah.
But my point is like, we still support him for what they're there for.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's been many people that I've trained with who I'm just like, I don't necessarily root for you as a person, but you're a teammate of mine.
Right.
So, I'll be there and I'll support you. We even had that with that same gym that we had issues with my wife. Like, there's people there that, you're a little out there, but because you're my teammate, like, I support you.
But that's crazy.
And even afterwards, I still support him. I still respect him because I share the mat with him. And anytime you share the mat with somebody, there's a level of respect. But you can be dislikeful. You can dislike some of their choices.
Right.
Because it's a free country, dude.
Yeah, because even there in the gym, there's guys that pop in there on sparring days. There's like, hey, who's sparring?
Yeah, and they're just there for sparring. And I've come across that, my entire MMA career. I mean, even sometimes the classes that I've taken, it's been with guys that seems to be their main coaching strategy is just having these guys spar. But like those type of people are usually the type of people I try to avoid, because even if I take care of them and I handle them sparring sense, it's not going to be fun for me. Like, I'm going to know what I'm doing. I can feel that you have no technique. Like, this isn't fun for anybody here. But those, or you get those people that are trying to make a name for themselves, and they see Coach G talking to this guy over here. He must be somebody. And then they go and try to take your head off, and then that's less fun because now you got to pick up your intensity, and that's usually the one where afterwards I sit out that next round because I got to either A, calm down, or B, get my win back because I just blew myself up trying to take this kid out.
But then at the same time, I mean, you're still, I guess you're going with emotions, and you're just like,
I mean, people are who they are. You can't change that. Which I'm going into coaching. I'm gonna be starting to coach here in a couple weeks.
Oh, really?
First Baptist Christian Academy.
Oh, hell yeah, man! So you're doing some coaching,
wrestling. I'll be coaching.
Wrestling.
Elementary and middle school.
Really? Yeah. Actually, that's been my interest too. Like, because I know at Paradigm, there's a few younger people that have been coming in, man. But I love. Like, I think because I didn't have that when I was younger. So I mean, of course, knowing you now, but I know your angle. You know, just I mean, because I would have. It just helps to have that mentality, and I guess that discipline.
Yeah.
And you know, whether it's, I mean, it's pretty much your passion, and you know, it's even my passion too, I would say now, but it helps, like, you know, focus, discipline, you know, and you know, it's just like, because I was in cross country when I was younger.
Same.
Because I never came from like a real big athletic family.
Yeah.
I just knew at the time when I was younger that, I don't know, to be honest, I just knew, I was like, I just think it's kind of cool if you're involved in athletics. My parents were never like, hey, you need to be in this or that.
Yeah.
Or I mean, they were kind of for that, but they were more like, not specific. Like, hey, I was a boxer, I was a cross country runner, so you should get a cross country because maybe you're good at it. I just kind of found my way and got into it. But my point was like being involved in a sport, and then, you know, of course, you having your view of being the things you've been through, and then just passing it on to you know, the other generation. You know, and kind of just, you know, I mean, that's cool, man.
Yeah. I mean, growing up, like I was very athletic. My parents encouraged me to do athletics, so I did, you know, football, baseball, basketball. You know, if you would have asked younger me what he wanted to be, he wanted to be some weird hybrid of Bo Jackson and, you know, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, you know, some weird hybrid where I played football, baseball, basketball professionally. Like, I was all about that. And then once I got introduced to MMA, and I was already a big fan too at WWE. You know, once I got introduced to MMA, then it was just, all I was thinking about was MMA. I'd play MMA with my other toys that, you know, my wrestling action figures, even though they're wrestling action figures, I'd have them do MMA. Yeah. And, you know, I'd watch anything MMA for hours on end. You know, Never Back Down was my favorite movie, and Bloodsport and Karate Kid and all the martial arts movies are my favorite movies growing up. You want to know how crazy martial arts I got? I even got these rectangular flip-flops, these Tong flip-flops, where the mat was bamboo tatami mat. Yeah. And I walked around high school with that, and I'm not a virgin, okay? I don't know how that happened, but I got super duper deep into all things martial arts and stuff like that. It was just like crazy. Like, once I got interested, I was hooked. And so my thoughts of being the next, you know, beating Mark McGuire and Barry Bonds' home run record, gone. You know, my hopes of dunking on Kobe Bryant, gone. I was doing shadow boxing before my Little League games. So, like, I was an out there kid. So, like, once I found MMA, there was no question on what I wanted to do with my life. I wanted to do fighting. I wanted to travel the world, train martial arts and all that stuff. And then, like, too, I envied the martial arts trainers, because it was like, you get to do this for your living. You just get to make money teaching people how to do the thing you're super passionate about, and you get paid for this and go home to your family who are happy to see you. Like, this doesn't make sense to me. Like, you're not supposed to get paid for this.
I mean,
it's too fun.
I guess bring up Nate Diaz again from mine, but like bringing him up, like man, I mean, because all he does is work out and train.
Well, I mean,
he probably, like, in between, he runs his business, is, I guess, that group up or game up nutrition with that CBD, you know, and then he does that other stuff. And then, but I mean, like you said, every day, like, you just train.
Yeah. I mean that's what a professional athlete lifestyle is. You know, you may take a day or two off, but when you're getting paid for it, you know, you do it full time.
No, but like earlier what you said too, though, like even when I was in the military, pretty much, man, they paid you just to work out.
Yeah.
work out and go to work, work out and go to work, work out and go to work. They always had a gym anywhere and everywhere you were at. There was no fucking excuse not to work out. I worked out. I was a little bigger. I had more weight on me. Yeah. But the squeak, it'd be that normal story. The 3 squares a day, workout. 3 squares a day, workout. And then you pile it on protein. Oh yeah. Then you pile it on just drinking. Like if you do have course. Or if you're on base. If you're on base, then you're still going to be working out. Base, I would work out. But I would still work out. Even before, show up to the peak, they would call it anyways, you would show up, do the mile, do push-ups, sit-ups, and all that. Yeah. Man, pop up to those things. Those things were a cinch. Yeah. But my whole point was if you wanted to do more, they supported that. Yeah. That was a cool thing about the military.
No, if you want to have a fun scientific experiment,
go
to the state national championships. Or the state championships or the national championships, you pick. Yeah. Find the lightweight classes, preferably probably under 145. Figure out which one of those kids are going to a military academy or going to the military when they finish competing, and then mark down their weight there. And then add 20 pounds. And the next time you see them, that will be in the ballpark of where they'll be weighing when they come back from that military group. Every one of my wrestling companions, any of my teammates that have gone to the military, they are nowhere near their competing weight class.
Yeah, they get mad overweight, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, some of them, get incredibly jacked or get more muscular. But, yeah, they're in general bigger. I can't.
No, I think he was big, dude. I was when I got out, me and my cousin were yo, what's up with the muscles? I'm like, I just work out and I eat.
Yeah, that's all you do.
That's all I'm eating, dude. Eating and working out.
Yeah, which is crazy. It makes sense, how that can drive you kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Any of those kids that go off to be in the Air Force or in the Army or the Navy, any of those branches, they always come back 20 pounds bigger if they made it through basic training. Of course, if they didn't make it through basic, then all bets are off. You don't know how far they got, but yeah, it's kind of crazy that I never went down the military path because.
Did you ever think about
it? Not really. My mom was always super against it. Mm-hmm. My dad was in the Coast Guard.
Oh, that's cool.
And he actually got stationed out in Japan.
Yeah, you get some cool ass orders.
And so, what I found out actually not too long ago is that that my grandfather, my dad's dad, was in the CIA.
Oh hell yeah!
And it's man, if I would have known that, I could have been James Bond right
MMA,
now. Yeah, I could have been an action movie. I could have been the next John Wick. But no, my life is great the way it is.
Because I think if you were overseas in Europe, you blended in like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
So motherfuckers come up start speaking fucking German or start speaking some shit.
Whenever I was wrestling, I believe we were in Austin for the state championship, the team championship, and I was rooming with one of our captains. His name was Austin Beal.
Yeah.
And we're getting ready for bed. We're turning off the lights and laying there, and then all of a sudden I hear, "Walker, are you Slovakian?" And I'm like, "No, I don't think I have any Slovakian in my background. I know I have Scottish and Polish. Yeah, but I don't think I have any Slovakian." He's like, "Okay, because you have a Slovakian looking face, the dark under your eyes and all that." And I was just like, "Geez, thanks, bud. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this information now, but I appreciate that you took time before you went to sleep to tell me this. I really appreciate it." But
because I have a friend that he was studying Krav Maga.
That's actually what my wife started off with. Yeah. She started off with Krav Maga.
But Krav Maga is a little more, and I've never done it, so I'm not putting this pretty much as just opinion, I guess. Mm-hmm. But I've heard it's just pretty much technique, not more. I don't know.
Krav is complicated. The easiest way to just like define it real quick is self-defense.
Well, that's what I meant. There's no really no thought in it. There's no patience in it. There's just like, yo, you do this, and this motherfucker does this. You do this, and you do that.
Well, that's because there's not like a fully like set curriculum in terms of like these are the standards for belting and stuff like that. You know, if you look at jiu-jitsu, there's kind of a baseline already of like how long somebody's supposed to be competing or training before they get their next belt. Wow. You know, if you look at any martial art, there's like a judo. You have to meet a certain criteria before you advance to a belt. And also, too, these coaches have a lineage. They can tell you who gave them their black belt, and then the person who gave that person their black belt, and how they got to where they are.
Right.
But I think a lot of Krav Maga people, not that they don't have a background or a lineage, because a lot of these people do have a background, but there's not a Krav Maga background. There's not a Krav Maga like unit that makes there's probably like different Krav Maga groups, but there's not a universally agreed upon standard for which this person's good at Krav Maga and this person's not so good at Krav Maga, and somewhere in between. Each school kind of has their own thing. And I'm sure they're very similar to like martial art, typical martial arts type standards.
Because I was actually considering going to Krav Maga. I didn't do it. I actually got settled with Paradigm. I met Colin. Yeah. And then when Colin, told me about the info about Paradigm, and then ended up at Paradigm.
Yeah, we heard about Paradigm from Cameron.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah, we ran into him at a jiu-jitsu tournament in Galveston. And he told us about Paradigm, and that's when we were we were still at the gym that we were having issues with, that we then left.
Right.
He told us about it, and we were both very interested, and he told us we could come down, try out a class for free. And we tried out the open mat and met Marcus, and just absolutely fell in love with the place, even though we got our butts kicked that day. We just really enjoyed the environment and the group. And
that's cool, man.
So
that's cool. We can be near your wife and go there, kind of just let loose, and kind of, get your work out.
Yeah, she could beat me up because she is a bad mamma jamma at jiu-jitsu, let me tell you. And she hits hard in sparring, dude. Like, if you get hit by her when she's sparring, anybody who's listening to this, if you get hit by her when she's sparring and it feels like she hit you hard, I promise you she didn't mean it. She just hits hard, and she's trying her best. So please don't get mad.
Yeah, I got hit tonight.
No, it's not fun. I try to stay away from the people who hit hard. And
there's some hard hitters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wasn't about it either. I've been eating junk food and going crazy the past couple days because my wife's been in Vegas, so like I'm out of shape like crazy and feeling like crap because I'm full of grease and pepperoni and queso dip. The HEB queso dip is legit.
Well, no, I saw your Insta, dog. Yeah, you were cut.
Oh yeah, I mean back when I competed, especially my last fight, bro, I was skinny.
How much did you weigh?
For my last fight, I weighed in at 135 pounds.
Damn.
And I did not cut a single drop of water. Usually I cut 5 to 10 pounds of water. That fight, I actually didn't cut any water. That was all body fat that I cut. Because I was eating oatmeal, a grilled chicken salad with avocado for the dressing, not even like an actual dressing, turkey and cheese, and then like a protein shake for dinner.
Damn.
And then I was running 30 minutes to an hour like 3 times a week and training every day. And man, I was lean. I felt so good. That's probably the best I've ever been in a fight camp. And so for my
but I've heard about that. Like just what you described. I've heard people being feeling pretty good when they're but it's a hard way to continue doing that shit.
Well, when you do the water cutting, Luckily, I didn't have to cut any water, so there was no risk to my internal organs or anything like that. It was just discipline that I needed to keep with that diet the entire time. But yeah, with the water cutting, I mean, I won't condone it for any of my wrestlers, and I just really, I'm glad that there's promotions like ONE FC promoting not doing water type cuts, because it can lead to so many dangerous situations. You know, whenever you cut water, your body can't decide what needs to absolutely stay no matter what, and what can go. Like, you're cutting all the fluid in your body, so you lose brain fluid, and then and now you're at a high risk for a brain contusion or some type of serious brain injury. So like, I've always not really been for cutting lots of weight. That's why I tried to stay under. I can't remember the percentage of body fat, but I tried to stay under a certain percentage of water loss, so that I was never in a dangerous situation. And I achieved that. I never once had to go to the ER or felt like I was dying at weigh-ins. You know, the worst I was severely hungry because I didn't eat dinner the night before or lunch the day before. So I was sitting there waiting for weigh-ins to kick off, and they started up the kitchen at the bar so you could smell, you know, the food, and you just wanted to dive on some food. But this last fight, I didn't have to cut any water. It was just all discipline and body fat, and I felt lean. I felt good. I looked like I just had nothing on me besides skin and bone.
No, I saw the pic. Yeah, I saw your pics. Your weigh-in pics.
Yeah,
you're pretty quick cut.
And I wish I did that for all my fights, honestly. It was such a great way of being, because the next day I didn't feel bad. Because there's been times where I didn't hydrate properly. So the next day I come in, I feel like I have a bowling ball in my stomach going into the third round. And I feel lethargic. Like, that happened during my legacy fighting championship fight. Just felt like I had a bowling ball in my stomach, and like I couldn't move in the third round. And, you know, that was worrying, because it's like, man, had that guy had more stuff, I could have been in real trouble. So like, I tried to stay, you know, now that when I did it, without a water cut, I just felt amazing going into the next day. I didn't have any lethargia, any issues at all. I was just able to go in there, you know, work hard. I put in more work and more effort in that fight than I did to any of my fights previously. I can truly say that I left everything in the cage that day. And, you know, unfortunately, I wasn't able to get the decision that day. My opponent ended up getting the decision because I didn't put double underhooks whenever I took the back. But, you know, he was the better man that day. And, you know, it's awesome being able to just like say that after the fact. Right. Because like, so many people, I think, when they get upset with a loss, it's because they knew they left something behind. They knew they could have done a little bit more. I knew I did everything I could have done. You know, maybe I could have done things differently, but I can't get mad at myself for doing what I saw in that moment. So to be able to, after that fight, just go into the back with that, it was just such a peace that I never had during any of my other MMA losses, that like it was crazy, because like all I knew is that losses hurt, losses suck. Like, you feel like you want to die. But after that loss, I didn't feel that way. It's just like, dang, you know, I just didn't do that thing right. I didn't do these techniques cleaner. Like, that was the difference.
Yeah, but I mean, it takes you to have to think that, though. It takes you to have to go through that, because, man, I mean, I think, like, I don't know. I mean, this is like the deep part of me getting into this. Mm-hmm. But no, I feel like it's just like life. I relate to life. Like, you have to go through some like, where it's your gut feeling. Like, it's like almost like messing with your conscience. Like, because it's just like something that's being taken away from you. Like, what did I do wrong? What did I not do right? Or what did I need to do more? And all that shit runs back and forth, and you're kind of just like, but then you go back to the drawing board, and then that's where I feel like that's where your true character comes out, because you go back to the drawing board and like, well, fuck, I need to do this shit different. And, you know, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to do more of this and that, you know.
Yeah, and and it might be different too when there's like money on the table. If I'm a professional fighter and this is how I feed my family, of course I'm gonna probably be upset when I lose.
That's scary, man. Yeah, it is scary. It's scary. It's serious.
So that probably helped my mentality with losing there, but also like just knowing that everything was done. Like I dotted my I's, I crossed my T's. I was at a gym that I was supposed to be at the entire time, and I just fell short today. Like it was just honestly peaceful and just made the fight like such a something out of a dream.
Yeah.
And just something that I think about constantly. But nothing but good thoughts. Even though I did find whenever I was trying to find a video of the fight so that I could watch it back, I did find an MMA journalist that was there that said that like my jiu-jitsu looked terrible and that like.
Who said that?
I don't even know. I was just
somebody critiqued that.
Yeah, there's like a person doing like a live stream of the fight, and he was like basically like he needs to put in more time in jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. And I was like, you're a bully.
And I ain't gonna throw other names out there from Paradigm, because I've noticed some people like that, they critique on things that are being done. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
and like if I was to go to jiu-jitsu and watch y'all do jiu-jitsu, I'd go over there and be like, man, or just like say, I have no right to say anything about jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
I have no right to say anything. Now, when it comes to the kickboxing, I might say, hey, man, you might want to do this or that, or mention a little quick, hey, man, I do that wrong, or I do this. But I'm just saying, I'm very careful about speaking about. I'm just saying, like, you gotta earn your shit in order to go say something or whatever, or they're gonna turn to you and be like, well, who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, blah, blah, blah. And then if you got something to bring to the table, they bring to the table. But
yeah.
All I'm saying, like, when it comes to like. I think that type of atmosphere, you got to be very careful.
Yeah, I mean,
like what you say and what you bring.
Yeah, no, I think that's just a sentiment that can be shared throughout society right now.
Well, no, that's pretty much it. Because when you think about it, I mean, fighting's fighting. That's why I enjoy fighting. Fighting is to me is like you're on your own, you're by yourself, and all you can do is either take the fucking hits. Give them, not give them, get tired, don't get knocked down, don't get thrown down. All I'm saying is like it's all you. Mm-hmm. And and to piggyback off of Mike Tyson, like his other thing is the most loneliest sport, and it is the most loneliest sport.
Yeah, but like I didn't honestly feel that way whenever I was fighting. Honestly.
You don't feel as lonely?
I mean, it's there's definitely lonely moments. But like that,
because it fucks with your head.
Yeah, and like you're the only person going. So that's really tough.
Yeah, everybody else is fucking watching. Like, oh
shit. Yeah, because you don't feel like you can talk to many people about it. But like also there's just so many people that you come across and you end up meeting. And then too, like the event itself, like you're performing. Like that's the toughest thing about this COVID stuff. There's so many fights without crowds. Like there's just something that a crowd brings to it that makes it different than anything else.
Right.
Like that's what drew me to it in the first place. Like I just saw Forrest Griffin and Stephen Bonner out there going crazy, blood and guts, all the things that I love about WWE. But it was in front of a crowd and it was real, and these guys are getting paid for it, and it was the craziest thing I've ever seen. Like it was like selling point. And so like I lost where I was going with that. I just got so hyped. I get so hyped about Forrest Griffin and Stephen Bonner and just
those fighters.
Well, just that fight in general, because like that was honest. Because like I watched that whole Ultimate Fighter, and like I thought it was cool. I thought it was crazy seeing Chris Lieben and all those guys doing their crazy thing. But just that fight itself was just so crazy and so monumental to me. I could almost recall every second of that fight in my head because I've watched it so many times. But as a kid, like I was jumping up and down on my bed. I was running, telling my parents, telling my brothers that they needed to watch this.
Right.
I started immediately sparring with my Goldberg doll and my Hollywood Hulk Hogan plush dolls that I did pro wrestling with. Like it was hype. It was the craziest thing I ever seen. And it was just everything I loved, and I just needed to do it. I needed to do it. That's just all I knew in that moment was that I need to do this. And eventually I did, and got to live out a childhood fantasy. Even got Face the Pain played for me. Not by my choice.
Yeah, right.
My first fight, they played the UFC intro music, all that stuff. When I was walking out, when I wanted Mama Said Knock You Out, because I had my mom in my corner. I wanted Mama Said Knock You Out, but they played Face the Pain instead. And I was like, man, I look like the idiot who's walking out to face the pain. I look like the UFC mark that loves UFC so much, he's going to walk out to face the pain. Like, I don't want to be that guy. We call them basketball shorts guys.
Yeah.
Guys, whenever I was coming up, you'd see some of these guys at these local MMA shows that would be showing up in basketball shorts, or just
really?
It's like just literally stuff they picked off the rack at Academy before they got there.
So they're straight up street fighters.
Yeah. And they're brought in there for one reason and one reason only. And the promoters might not tell you this, but the reason they bring those guys in there is to get beat up, because they'll make this guy who they're trying to promote and be like
no shit. So they bring these guys in, they pump them up thinking that they're gonna
not necessarily pump them up. They're not sitting there
so
like
these guys know what they're doing then.
The guys are fighting, yeah.
Well, but I'm saying like these guys that are coming in and they're kind of downplayed in a way, like them being downplayed. Do they know they're being downplayed in a way? No. Wow.
Especially like the amateur guys, they don't know. They just think they got to fight and they're excited.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they just want to go with the muscles.
Yeah, and it's like, and good for you. Like, it is exciting. Like, I remember the feeling of being told I got my first fight. It's an exciting feeling, but some of these guys just don't come in with any good technique. And one time I even had to corner a guy. I was there to corner somebody else, but the guy, his corner didn't show up, or he just made him up or something like that for the fight. I forgot. But it was like, will you please corner me? And I ended up wrapping his hands, warming him up, and taking him out to fight as if I was his coach. But I had never trained with that guy a day in my life. And I think, no. That was the guy from my gym that I coached that wasn't the best. But got a fight because he asked for it before he started training with us.
Right.
So we got him prepared for the fight, and I almost coached him to knock the guy out. Now, this guy... I think I almost got him out of the first round.
Yeah.
But, things happen. He lost. Those basketball shorts guys, that's why they're called that. They wear basketball shorts. They really got no reason to be out there. But they get a Houston MMA example of this is Thomas Moreno and Clarence Brown. Those are like the Houston MMA examples.
And see, that's another thing. It's like, these guys have to get taught lessons, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And that's the issue with these smokers, and that's why it's hard to have them, because you'll have these guys that are coming in, these smokers with no training, but say they have a bunch of training because they've won 50 fights in the backyard. They're 50-0 in the backyard. They're 100-0 in the streets. And then, so they go against an experienced guy and they get head kicked, and I have to be the one who's recording for them and have to give them their phone back.
It's crazy shit.
I still relive that in my dreams.
Well, no, man, but I'm glad you guys come on, man.
Yeah, man.
So what'd you think of this?
It's pretty cool, man.
So you want to come back on again?
Yeah.
Maybe do another series?
Yeah.
Like I said, that to be honest.
We didn't even go into the fights, really.
Oh, well, we can.
If you want to. I'm just saying, we can save it for part 2.
We can.
Or
we're pretty tired. It's 11. I'm just hungry.
I feel you, Doug.
Yeah, you feel good. Well, we both sparred tonight. So tonight we sparred. Well, actually, I worked, slept, went in, sparred. I fucking got my ass kicked. We came over here, chilled. Considering,
I'm glad.
You're here, I'm here, whatever. And then Yeah, so yeah, dude, no, man, we got like an hour and 20. Yeah, so we're all good. And then we tried out the new angle.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a new camera coming up next time.
Oh.
But yeah, man, so what do you think of the studio?
I like it, man. It's really
yeah, well, at the beginning, like I said, I keep saying this every fucking episode. Every episode, I'm working. There's other things that are up in the works that are going to be added to this, and then it's going to be in the motions. But the whole idea, man, is pretty much Paradigm community. So cheers, Paradigm, man. Paradigm keeping me straight, keeping me on my toes. So that's pretty much how I like to say.
Yeah, Jim will do that too.
Yeah, man. You know, because I feel like relative to the military, like just it's a good workout. And like I said, man, thank you, because man, you've showed me a lot. Like ever since when I first started, which is why I felt, man, almost just like, yeah, you know, glad that we can shoot the shit. And then, like I said, this is kind of groundwork. So yeah, definitely. This is only the beginning.
Yeah, I mean,
this is episode 9.
I mean, I'm in the process of transitioning to mostly being a coach. So
next
time I come on, I'll be wrestling coach or MMA/wrestling coach.
No, because the whole other, like I said, I haven't gotten that far. The whole other angle is also to use this maybe to help you towards your coaching.
Yeah.
Maybe grab this YouTube. You know, you grab this link, put it on your Instagram. They can understand more of your in depth and like more of your ideas of what you're kind of going with the wrestling.
Yeah.
Or with training, these young people, that need. Like I said, man, that's awesome, man. And I'm all for that, because I think it's positive. That has nothing to do with. There's no. And that's what I like about boxing, because I think when it comes to boxing is so diverse. You want diversity. You want a different opponent. You want somebody that weighs more. You want somebody that weighs less. You want all this diversity because it just preps you for that one fight where you're going to get somebody pretty much equal weight.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. So. Yeah, because that is an issue for all martial arts. I mean, jiu-jitsu, there's a healthy portion of people in there, but like if you're super heavy, there's only you're probably the only super heavy, or if you're super tiny, there's probably not a ton of super tiny people for you to roll with. So. They definitely can be an issue with not having enough variety in your training room.
Yeah, but yeah, man, definitely. So yeah, man, I'm laying the groundwork for Paradigm. Yeah, just bringing y'all on here, and just speaking about our goals and journey. Like you said, man, it's just like I don't know. Like obviously, you and I are in love with that fucking training.
Oh yeah, I mean, Marcus was at my wedding. Marcus was at my wedding.
Awesome.
He's really been somebody that my wife can learn a lot from and can confide in as like a father type figure.
Yeah, man, that's awesome.
At the gym, so like their bond is just so tight that like honestly, no matter what would happen. As long as Marcus is at the gym, like we're there.
Yeah, man. No,
and I live Coach G, so like I'm not gonna go to anywhere else to do my kickboxing.
No, but when I first started there, and then like I came and I had the wrong gloves, he kind of looked over and said, "Hey, go here today, blah blah blah, have this and have that." Anyways, so like it was just like
he just made it work.
He saw this guy and said, "Hey, this guy's trying." He showed up, but but I think that's cool, man. When you have, I'll be honest, it has to roll in that mindset where the trust is, waiting somebody to kind of be coached.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. A coach is a coach. And, I don't know, like I feel the same way. Like I need to be coached, man. I don't think I'm ever not gonna be not coached till the day I die. To be honest, I think you always need this type of figure in your life, or not that. Even if it gets to the point where I guess where we're the only ones, then we need to mentor somebody else.
Yeah.
Just kind of keep those things, just kind of keep them, I guess, going and can keep practicing.
Yeah.
Which is what I think you're doing towards your training.
Yeah.
And going towards the junior training for these, kids.
Yeah. And
that's cool, man.
And I do that for my nephew, my brother's kid. I try to be a model for him to kind of a role model for him to build his, not necessarily his life off of, but just learn from my mistakes so that he doesn't make those same ones again.
But that's family though, man. That's being family, you know. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
But yeah, so.
Well, cool, man. So yeah, man, I'm glad you enjoyed coming on, man. I'm glad you, you know, so definitely. So yeah, so next time, we're definitely gonna come bring this on. So TST Podcast Episode 9. Guest Jonathan Woolybeast Walker. My bad. That's Jonathan Woolybeast Walker. There we go.
At least it's spelled
5.
I had it on one of my fight shorts spelled incorrectly. That's terrible.
Cool, man. Yeah. So all right, man. Call it here.
Okay.
All right, man. Thanks, bro.
My pleasure.
Thanks.